Alright, this time we're gonna wait on the launch pad first. Instead of immediately launching, ignition, and lift off. And did you know that this rocket actually has over 2 thrust to weight ratio? And it did last time I tried the rocket. So basically, what that means is that it can lift double its mass. Yeah, so I could have it at 50% throttle and it could launch. Alright, again, we're tilting and we're trying to get to orbit. Well, that's the reason that we are tilting. And the apoapsis is over 25 kilometers. And you can see the apoapsis at the top of the screen. There, and it's called, and I'll tell you what apoapsis means. It basically just means the highest point in your orbit or suborbit, which you probably know what orbit means, but you probably don't know what suborbit means. I already said so I was like suborbit, but you probably don't know what suborbit means. You might not. Suborbit is basically like you don't have a periapsis, which periapsis is just the opposite of apoapsis, which means that it's going into the ground if it's zero. So, I have a suborbit right now, and I'm going to orbit. The circularization burn is what I'm doing. And okay, you can see we stopped the burn. Yep, our engines are off. And you can see I'm gonna navigate to the moon. This time we aren't in a transfer window, and we have to wait. Luckily, there's this thing called time warp. I wonder what that does. It does exactly what it sounds like. And last time I said that the engine roar was loud, it was for me. After rewatching that video, I realized, oh, it's not loud. I mean, sure, sometimes you can hear it, but yeah. And you can see we're growing our orbit so it can make it to the moon. And I almost cut the engines. And this stage actually has so much fuel because this payload, which a payload is just basically the stuff that you're sending, because this payload is lighter than the last payload. And since it's lighter, it has more delta V, which delta V is basically how many meters you can speed up / slow down. And you can see we got too close, a little closer than I'd like. So we're gonna do a mid-course correction. Yeah, so this stage, I'm keeping this stage on. And yeah, you can see the Earth, that blue dot. You can see all those gray triangles around it. That's just a bunch of space junk that I have in orbit. Yeah, that's just how much space junk I have. Very few of them are actually have a purpose. They were just like their purpose. Most of that space junk, their purpose was just to like usually they were just a stage for the previous part of the rocket. And yeah. And now if you wanted to know about my editor, I do end up I edit the videos myself. And my recorder that I use, which is snipping tool. That's how I recorded this video, and then I edited this on Clipchamp, and uh that's how I was recording the. That's how I'm recording the audio as I'm speaking, and the audio, like when I record the audio, it like blocks the screen so I can't see what's happening. So I'm using snipping tool to watch this, and you can see we're by the moon right now. Mid course correction was when you saw my uh apoapsis, or my periapsis I should say, above the moon was going up. That was the mid course correction. And if you're wondering, well, I'll actually say this when we're on the next stage, which is going to happen pretty soon. But this stage is just so efficient. And again, if you want to know who I am on the forums, I believe that I'm Space Stew 999. I'm pretty sure I am. Otherwise, where would my YouTube channel name come from? And alright, so in a moment I'll tell you about what happened. Yeah, right now we're gonna go into the Earth, about what I have on the rocket. So if you see landing legs attaching to the payload, you're right, there are landing legs. Those landing legs, well, if you're wondering what they're for, they're actually just useless. But if you know what truss is, truss is basically just like exactly what I have there, and it's kind of like a truss mount, and that's what the landing legs are there for. So yeah, you can see we're in orbit of the moon and we're navigating, but this takes a long time, so I'll just tell you some random space facts. Let's see. Yeah, the commonly repeated one. Did you know that the moon is actually moving away from the Earth at a rate of about, I think it's actually like 3 inches a year? And also, did you know that at one point, Venus and Mars, they think that Venus and Mars at one point were so, like, they had the right conditions to potentially have life, and potentially, wait, what? I can't remember. I forget what I'm talking about sometimes. And also, did you know that Mars has a material that can only be found from using nuclear boom boom thingies? If you want to know what I mean by that, well, I think you already know what I mean by that. And also, did you know that a planet called K218b has a, a gas in its atmosphere that is only produced by life, as far as we know? It's only produced by life. And uh, that makes people think that K218b has life. Which personally, I think that K218b has life. And you can see I just used time warp to try to get a good encounter. Or, I mean, transfer window. He he. And then the encounter, it's not called an encounter, it's called a rendezvous if you're talking about rockets. Um, what do I talk about now? If you're in, if you're a space nerd like I am, and you watch videos about planets, one of the planets that you've probably came around is J1407b. But if you don't know what that planet is, it's also called Super Saturn. But if you don't know what it is, then I'll tell you. It's basically Super Saturn because it's like a brown dwarf, and it has the biggest rings ever discovered. In fact, the rings are so big that they could go over the distance from the Earth to the Sun, also known as 1 AU. AU stands for astronomical unit, which is like, I can't remember how many. I I can't remember if that was miles or kilometers either, but I think that it was like 93 million miles. Also, I don't know the conversion to kilometers for that, so sorry if you use kilometers. And you can see we have a rendezvous now. And in the bottom, like where it says throttle, on the right side from that, you can see how far away we are from the space station. And if you're wondering why the heck is there a wheel on that payload, I used the wheel for a camera. Do not call me a weirdo. Yeah, that's really, in my opinion, that's like really the only thing that looks good for a camera. So if you like it, you can use it on your rockets. Oh, and also this rocket will be linked in the description. And also, if you haven't already, make sure that you like and subscribe. And also, I forgot to mention this in last video, but in the last video, but turn on notifications and share this with everyone you know. And also today, the day that this video is released, I'm gonna try to release a video about where I make a rocket, and I have it clean up some of the space junk in orbit of the Earth. And if I have enough fuel, I'll try doing the moon too, but I don't really have much space junk in orbit of the moon. And I feel like in real life it would be a good idea for them to send a mission up where basically they clean up the trash in orbit of the Earth and just send it right to the sun. And you can see, and you might be able to see the space station over on the right, but like not the picture of a bunch of that black stuff. The black stuff, those are ion engines, and that's just the stage to activate the ion engines. And also, this is a question that has me puzzled. Why aren't solar panels black? No, this isn't meant to be funny. This is serious. Why aren't they black? Because like solar panels should be black because black absorbs the most light, not blue. So it doesn't make any sense why they're blue. Like, is it because of funding? I don't mean pure black. Is it really that much more to make it black? You made most of the Saturn V black. Now make these solar panels black. And you can see we're just right by the space station. And we're coming down on it. And we're just about to dock. Except I go back up so I can line it up properly. And docked. And if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell and share this with your friends. And I will see all of you in the next video.